So here we are. I've been meaning to make a video about how to make one of these roll top frame bags for a long while now, almost a year, but I've been so busy with other things I've actually started making these to sell. So check out Southern Light Packs on Instagram and Facebook and follow me if you want to see what I've been making. But yeah, so I'll show you how to make one of these in this video. This is the one that I've made for my surly probably a couple of years ago, but it's all working pretty well, and it's still like new, even though I've abused it. So yeah, it's got a nice big opening, heaps of room. It's got a divider in there so stuff doesn't get all mixed up and rattle around too much, and it stops it from bulging at the bottom here, hitting you, rubbing on your feet. It's 80mm wide, so you can fit quite a bit of stuff in it, but still it doesn't hit your feet when you're pedaling there. It does come out a bit once it's totally full, but the Velcro stops it all from bulging out too much. And it's not fully waterproof because the seams aren't taped. However, you could actually seal them up with a bit of seam grip if you wanted. But yeah, so I'll show you how to make one of those. So this is my template here, and as I'm decorating I've just used a piece of old wallpaper I've ripped off to make the template, and I've actually added 10mm onto the outside as that's going to be my seam allowance, plus I'm going to add a little bit extra. So my seam allowance is actually 5mm, but I've actually added 10mm just to make it so it fits better in the frame, because all the straps will pull it tight and nice. I've also flattened the bottom and put a curve on here and on the front edge, just because you'll find that when you're loading your stuff in, all of like your little bits and pieces, peanuts and stuff, will end up in the bottom here and go all manky and mouldy. And plus it also makes it a bit easier just to sew. So I put a right angle on the corner and then just brought a curve in here. So it's a lot easier to sew like that, and the bit at the top of the seat tube here is just a right angle anyway, pretty much, so that's easy enough to sew. Yeah, so also on this I've marked down here 130mm and drawn a line straight across, so it's 130mm all the way down, and this is where I'm going to be attaching the strap part. So to get the width of the strap that you need to cut, you just measure from edge to edge here, and that will then give you the width of the strap part for it. And also you want to work out how wide you want to put the roll top part. So what I do, I just measure in 20mm from the edge, because you don't want it right in the very corner, 20mm or 30mm depending on how far in you want it to be. And I've marked, I don't know, maybe 60 or 70mm in from this end at the front, because you don't want to take it all the way to the front either. You want to leave a bit more here, otherwise it hangs off the bottom. So yeah, and then you just measure from there to there, and then add, because I'm using a 5mm seam allowance, I just add an extra 10mm onto the width here for the roll top part. So this is all the fabric cut. For the main pack I'm using VX21 in the black, nice and stiff. It's good fabric for a frame bag. This is the roll top parts. So this will be on the outside of the roll top, and then I've got a lightweight fabric here. This is just 100D Robic, something a bit nice and softer on the inside. So yeah, that'll actually be the roll part here. So to get the measurements, you measure on the top like I showed you earlier, and I just measured up here 20mm, so that's a straight here, and then 20mm from the top. And I put a taper on this edge, so that's the edges of it, and it's just got a 10mm taper. So I think the top here, you'll see is 10mm less than, it'll be 20mm, because 10mm each side will be less than the bottom part. So that just then keeps all of the fabric in when you roll it up. And then this is the roll. This is going to be the closing part for the roll top, and all I've done is just one section, So that's 80mm here, and then 80mm that side. And I've come in, I think maybe it might be 30mm in from each edge. And then because I'm using a 20mm webbing, so I've added 25mm here, so you have a little bit extra on both of those, and then just got a dinner plate and drawn a curve between the two. You can put a bigger curve or a smaller curve. The bigger the curve, or the higher it comes, the easier it is to sew. And then I've put in 2 slits where the webbing will be going through. This just makes it easier to sew. If you don't have to have this all attached, you can have the same each side, but it's just a bit easier to sew when you actually come to sew it. So you put your webbing through here and out the top, and that just makes it all hold together, and then you cut the bottom bit. And this works a bit better like that. There we go. So the first part we're going to sew are the 2 closer parts where the webbing comes out. So these get sewn on the side. So yeah, you just fold them in half. You've got your holes down here for the webbing to go through, and you'll just don't start at the very bottom here. Just start at the 10mm flat edge on here, and you just come up, but don't sew all the way to the top. Just maybe 10mm down from the top here. And then stop here, swap over to this side, and then sew around here. And what we'll do that all the way around. Don't sew across these 2 parts, and then we'll insert the webbing once we're done it. This way it all sits nice and tight. Okay, so with these parts sewn up, next part we need to do is insert the clips with the webbing. So this one I've already done. I just cut the webbing, and then get the lighter, melt the ends, and pinch them together so they stay like that. And then what we'll do, we'll insert them so they're like this on the inside, as close to here as you can get it, with this part sticking out through the hole here. Okay, so we've got our clips in here. We want to make sure they're both up the same way when you put them in as well. So you just want to make sure there's enough sticking out here. So you put it under your sewing foot, and you want to try to get this out as far as you can get it. So what I do, as you lower the foot to where you're going to start sewing, you just want to give this a bit of a pull out this way, just to make sure that the plastic's hard up in there. And then just go back and forth across here a few times. Okay, so that's the female side of the clips. This is the side the opening is going to be, and this is going to be the other side. So this is going to be the part with the adjustable parts on. So I've cut 370mm of 20mm webbing here, on 2 lots of it, 1 for each side, and I've inserted them through the holes that I cut earlier, and they come out the top. So I've just had them come out the top, maybe whatever that is, 20mm. So we're just going to sew across here again, like we did on the other one. Right, so once you've sewn all of the webbing in and everything, you then cut off the excess, this black part, the other side. So you just cut off the excess. You cut all the way along the bottom here, just where you've already put your slits. So you just make sure it's dead level, and you cut all the way along here, like this. And then, so once you've got all this off there, you just put some little snips along this round section here, not into the thread, obviously, just a few mil in, and at the corners here as well. And this just makes it easier to curve it in when you come to do it. So, and then once you've finished it, it'll be like this. So you can see I've cut the bottom open. I'll put the slits on the inside here so it sits nicer here. And then just put some clips on it, hold it all nice and neat. So yeah, get to that stage now. So once you get them both the right way again, you're now going to sew just a finishing stitch around the edges of it all. When you get to the webbing, just go get to the end of here, and then you just head back and back again. That's just to give it a bit more strength and stop the webbing from pulling out. So you just want to go right on the edge of it, and like this. the webbing, back over, and then back again. That then just gives it a real hard stitch across there and keeps it all nice and neat and strong. So once we've finished both of our side straps, next we had to actually attach them to the side of the bags. So I've marked 130mm down from the top here. So and then just put a bit of a chalk mark along there. And then what we do, we line the bottom of this up with this, and you want to be just in from both edges along here, and then we'll just sew 5mm in from along here, along the edge. And on the side straps, I've just cut a little bit of the corner off, just because when you sew it and then you fold it back over, you can sometimes see it. So it's just cut the very corners off, just keep it all neat. Okay, so once you've sewn that along here, you then just have to flip this over like that, and then we'll sew along here just to finish this off. You want to sew maybe sort of 10mm up. That way you won't get this raw edge sticking through when you look down it. There'll be a nice finished clean edge here. So you want to sew just to the other side of this when you sew it along here. I should also say the side you want your actual roll top opening is the side that you put your female clips on, not the other way around. So you want to make sure, like this is the drive side, so normally the opening goes on the drive side. So yeah, this is the side we have the female clips on, and also this is a good point to put your logo on it. So next we've got to make the Velcro dividers to go inside, just to keep the bag its shape so it can bulging out. So this is one side of it which I've already made, and to work this out, you decide where you want the dividers to be. So I've come in 110mm from the edge here. So I've just drawn a line where it's going to be sewn on. So the idea is that I'm going to be sewing it on here. So I've got a 5mm seam allowance here, and I want to end it between these two stitches because that's where this piece is. So that'll give you a good bit of a good place to end. So I've just measured up there to get the measurement there, and I think it's what is it, 90mm. So it's 90mm high, and because my bag is going to be 80mm fat, so my bag's 80mm this way, you want the 80mm to be in the middle here. So it's going to be 40mm from the middle of this to the edge of the bag, and a 10mm seam here. So yeah, I've made this, what's that, 75, so 150. So I've cut a piece here which is 150 by however high you want this, plus 10 for your seam allowance. So what you do, you just fold this in half, then you sew along both of the short edges, leaving the long edge open, and then you'll flip it back inside the other way, so it'll be like that. Then you sew your Velcro on here. Okay, so once you've got both of these done, you can make sure they're the right size by sticking them together, so the Velcro is on there properly. And if you're doing an 80mm wide bag, and you'll have a 100mm seam here and here, once it's sewn down, it should be 100mm wide when it's stuck together. So yeah, 80 plus 10 plus 10, 100, easy. So when we sew these on, I like to sew the soft Velcro side on facing out, and it wants to go like this, and then the inside, so the rough Velcro wants to be facing the bag, and they both want to be like this. The tops of the bags are here and here, so then when they're sewn on, they're like this, and the other one will have the Velcro here, and it'll just stick. Yeah, so we just line it up with the line, 10mm in, and then just sew where the imaginary line is underneath, and then do it for the other one. So now we've got the dividers sewn in. You can just see the stitches here, just ends there nicely. So now we sew start sewing the roll top part on. So this is the thin Robic 100 I'm using here for the ins, like the part that's not going to be on the outside of the roll top when it's rolled down. So this will be it's a nice softer, more flexible fabric than the VX. So what we do, we just line this up to where we wanted it. So I'm going to probably put it in maybe 20-25mm in from the edge, and then just sew it all the way along. But what you do, you don't sew it from the very start of this piece. You start sewing. If your seam allowance is 5mm, you start sewing from 5mm in. So you leave a little tab part here. Do that on both ends. Yeah. Okay, so that's sewn all the way along. So yeah, there you can see, nicely sewn on. You can see here the edges aren't sewn all the way to the edge, because then what happens when we sew the back of it on, we'll actually have that as part of the seam. So it's quite important to leave just the ends not sewn. Okay, so this is the top edge, so the part against the top tube. This is just 1000 d nylon, nice and hard wearing, so this is ideal for against the frame. And what we're going to do, we've got about 25mm webbing here, so we just cut that to the same length. And what we'll do, we'll just put some marks down there to make sure it's in the middle when we sew it on. So what we'll do, we just do some bar tacks the whole way down, at sort of maybe a 30mm interval, because then the idea is that then we can, when you come to attach it, you can then just thread in a piece of the your Velcro here to attach to your frame, wherever you want. So yeah, this is 90mm wide, and so that'll give you an 80mm wide bag at the finish. So we'll just go and attach this now. So a quick tip, when I'm just doing these, I'll do it all the way down. It's a lot to measure and sort out, so I just get another piece of 25mm webbing, slide it in, and then just move that up. So it's just there, drop that, do the bar tack, and then move it down. It's way quicker than having just to measure it all out, and that way you get it all spot on. Right, this next bit is where I break out the old Bernina to use the Zigzag Stitch. So what I've done, this is the outside. I've cut a strip of Hex 70, which is like a thin liner material. There's a thin material I'm going to use for the liner. I just cut it the same width. And all I'm going to do is just put a zigzag stitch all the way down the edge. It just makes it easier for when you actually come to sew it. It doesn't just all fall apart. Okay, so this is now where we sew the roll top part onto the top part. So to get it in the right spot, you want to make sure that, so this is the lower roll top part, so you want to mark exactly where you're going to want to sew it on. So we're going to sew it on there. You need to leave a little bit hanging off each end, so we've got quite a bit off each end, because that makes it easier when you actually come to finish the bag off. So you mark here, and then what we'll do, we'll just sew this on here. Again, just leave 5mm from the end loose, like that. So, okay, this next part took me a little while to work out, really. So we've got this bit here now sewn on. So this is going to be the roll top part, and it's all like this, right? So the next part we do is we sew the roll top together. So to do that we put the roll top inside out, and you have to make sure when you're sewing this that you're exactly right, otherwise you'll end up with a funny corners here. So you have to make sure that everything is sitting just exactly perfect when you start sewing down the edges here. And when you're sewing down, you sew down, you make sure that the two seams here, and you're sewing down to your seam along here, so you sew straight into that corner where that seam is, and hopefully they'll both line up perfectly. That's the plan. So you do the front and the back, and then I'll get those done and show you. So I've sewn both sides of the roll top on here now, and you can see here that we're sewn up. It comes down and meets the seam but doesn't go past it. If you go past it, it'll sit funny, so you have to stop at this other seam. It's quite important, that. So now what we do, we flip this the right way. Okay. So there you can sort of see the roll top there now. And what we do, we get it so it's like this. So the roll top is basically it's the right way, but then you turn it the wrong way like this. And what we're going to do, we're just going to sew from the end of this seam to the end here. Again, leaving 5mm for the seam, and this end here 5mm into here, and then yeah, that will finish the top of the hair and give you a nice clean finish at the roll top. Okay, so we've sewed those bits. And if you want to go over a little bit the other stitching that then just pins it down a little bit, I wouldn't go far though, a mil or two, just a stitch or two over. So yeah, there you go. That's the roll top done. See, nice and neat. Next, you put the Velcro on. So for this, you just put it on the seat tube and the bottom tube, because the top tube you've already got the webbing there for the attachments. So because this is actually going on a carbon frame, so it's quite a fat one. So I've done 120mm strips of Velcro. But if it's a steel frame, just do 100. You know, that'll be heaps. You can always add a little bit more and cut it off if it's too long. There's no real rhyme or reason where you put the Velcro particularly. I like to have one at the bottom of the clip here, because that does tend to pull up otherwise. But other than that, it's just where you fancy and where you think will work well. Just watch your bottle mounts, and if you've got a front derailleur there, just watch the hanger for that. Make sure you're not going to put the Velcro where you're going to be in the way of something. And when you're putting it on, I like to have the soft Velcro facing the frame. It doesn't really matter. I just think it's you know, just a little bit softer for the frame, so it doesn't scratch so much. So you have the soft facing up. Yeah, we just sew it along here quickly, just a little bit into the seam allowance, and then yeah. So we'll get the next. We'll be sewing the edges on. So to start with, I only do the this side with the roll top side, and then I'll show you how I do the Velcro for the other side. Okay, so now we've got the rest of the side here. It's got all the line of fabric already sewn on there. So something when I was learning, I was struggling with was getting around the corners, and it was mainly because I didn't really know which fabric to have on the top and the bottom as I was sewing and all this. So the best way to do it, I found, you have your long straight edge on the bottom, and then where you got the curves, you have those. The curves, you have them on top. And then as you sew, you're just keeping this bottom bit just going straight through the sewing machine, and as the sewing machine comes to the curve, you then just pull this in, and just keep it going around the curve. So if you have it this way up, it's a real, you can't see where the curve's coming, and it's just hard. So yeah, that way up. Straight on the bottom. Okay, then to start, bottom bit, the side bit's pinned on there. So you want to start sewing on the seam that's here, on that seam. So you want to get your needle starting here, and then just heads down here. So when you get down to your first corner, what you want to do, you want to lift your foot, get your snips, and you just snip in from the corner directly towards the needle. So you stop 5mm from the bottom, then you snip from the very corner towards your needle. Not all the way to the needle, just leave a few mil there. And then with the foot still up, you hold the bottom part and you move the top part round. And then once you've got it all ready to go again, you just drop the foot and then just sew. And then we're going to have a corner coming up. So like I say, you keep the lower part going dead straight in with this hand, and then with this other hand you just have it on the top and you just bring it round like this. Well, it's a bit hard for you to see, I'm sure, but yeah, you just follow that round with the top hand. There we go, here's another corner. So again, this bit going straight in, this piece here curving around, so you pull it around with this top hand, bottom hand sliding in, keeping this piece here dead straight. So the top hand's bringing that top section around, the bottom hand's keeping that straight, and then we'll stop when we get out of the stitch, just there. And then just finish it. Just like that, look. Okay, so we've got the outside sewn on all the way around now. The corners are all nice and neat and tidy. None of this Velcro is sewing into other seams, which is something that can happen if you don't watch what you're doing. So most of the other videos and how-to things I've read all say about sewing the other part of the Velcro on the other outer panel. Now that's all well and good until you get it. Sometimes it doesn't all line up properly, and you can end up with a bit of Velcro here, and then the next bit will be a bit too far, and it just doesn't quite work. So I've had problems with this in the past, especially when you've got lots of curves. The more curves you have in the bag, if you've got a full suspension bike, it gets harder and harder to do. So the best way I found is to, so what I do, Velcro on here, I just mark on the sides here, and then I'll attach my Velcro to this, and that way it'll always line up with this part. Yeah, so you're going to be putting the hook part on here. Okay, we've got them marked. The Velcro's on. I'm now about to sew that on. So yeah, the hook part facing up, not the fabric seam, I'm facing up so that then they can meet and make the loops. Okay, so we do the same as we did on the other side. So we have the long straight edge on the bottom, the curvy side on the top. So we'll just start. So left hand on the bottom, feeding the edge straight in, right hand on the top, feeding around the corners. And then we've got the bottom and the side sewn on. I'm going to sew this piece here now. So to get this started, you just get that even at the front there like that. So this is the front, the headset end. So you keep it even, and then you can see here where I started sewing. I want to go 5mm up and that's where you'll want to put the corner. And then again you just start sewing along it. Okay, so it's starting to look like a bag now. You can turn it inside out and check everything's alright if you don't trust that you've done it well. But next thing, foam. So we've got to put the foam on the insides here, into where we've made the liner. So we put it in at these ends where we've not finished yet. So the foam I've got here is just 60mm wide. You could probably get a little bit wider if it's not as fat, but it's hard to get in, and I've not really found an easy way to do it yet. It's just a case of struggling to push it in between the inner and the outer here. So you want to push it in and leave it so there's about a 10mm gap from the end. That way you can sew the ends up and finish it all off nice and neatly. So I'll just struggle and get this all in. Okay, so now I've got all my foam in there. See, I haven't quite trimmed this bit off yet, but it's all in there. So the next thing we do, we flatten the edge here, and you sew from the end of this stitch across to the end of that stitch as straight as you can keep it, and then that'll just seal all this in. Okay, and that's that finished. So, I mean, normally if I'm using it for myself, I wouldn't bother with that. I'd just turn it inside out and be done pretty much. But if I'm making it for somebody else, I'll bind the edges, neaten it all up. But if you're making it for yourself, I wouldn't bother. Really, it doesn't really add anything. And as long as you've done the zigzag stitch along the edges here, it won't fray really too bad. And if you've got a domestic machine, you can now just go along and put another row of the zigzag all the way around as well, just to strengthen it a bit if you wanted. And although it's not waterproof as such, the fabric all is, but obviously the seams are going to leak. So what you can do, you can use a product called Seam Grip, which is a bit like silicone, and you just run it on the seams. Especially these ones here, where the for the closing flap there. I think there'll probably a little bit of water in these ones, so you could just run a bead along here. And anywhere there's a seam really, that would help waterproof it. But I've never bothered myself. But I'm sure that would certainly keep a lot more of the water out. So yeah, let's turn it back in the right way, and I'll show you what to do with the top part. Right, now then, to finish this roll top off, we have a piece of stiff plastic here. This is actually an old bit of chopping board, like one of those flexi chopping boards. It actually works really well. Or you can use the clear milk containers or anything like plasticky. So it's I've just cut this. It's 15mm wide, and I cut it just a little bit shorter than the roll top itself, just because then it makes it a bit easier to roll it down. So what we want to do, we want to sew this just on here, but only halfway on. So it lines up with the middle of the plastic lines up with the edge. And you just want to put a row of stitches just onto the plastic here, just to hold it for now. Okay, so we've got this half sewn on, both sides. So now what you want to do, you just want to go along and fold it once, fold it twice, and then clip it. So you want to do that all the way around. So that'll make it a lot easier when you come to it on both sides. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to sew another row of stitches just along the bottom edge of where the roll is and the plastic is. So you go through all of the layers. And just do it all the way around. And finally, we put some Velcro on the clothes here. So I've just got a bit of coloured ribbon. So that's the middle there, just marked with a bit of chalk. Put the ribbon on, Velcro on top, and then you pin it and sew that on. And you do the same on the other side for the closure, and voila, finished. And there you go. All finished and open and done, and yeah. So just for these bits of Velcro on the top, there's just 200mm bits, one hook, one loop, just sew them back to back, and then they can just be threaded through wherever you need them along the daisy chain here. Yep, and that works well. There we go. One finished roll top frame bag.